कहो कि सर पे टोपी है, मत कहो कि सर पे.
So I will put that on, but before I do that, I think I'll play our icebreaker. I'll do it now because this way you can talk. Because I think once my PowerPoint is up, then I can't hear you speak, I don't think. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so I mean, I know many of you, but let's do a little icebreaker. So I'm gonna say, put your hands up if, and then if that's you, you put your hand up. So put your hand up if you like to travel.
Nowadays?
Okay. Most people like to travel here. That's good. Very good. For any of the females, have you ever traveled solo? Ah, Snen? Okay. All right, there we go. We got some. Nice. Yeah, that's always a fun experience. I did that last year. I think I told you about my trip. Very, very exciting. Okay. Who has been up the CN Tower? So you've gone up to the CN Tower. Okay, most people. Good. And who is afraid of heights? Who is afraid of heights? Okay. And did you go up the CN Tower for those of you who are afraid of heights? Did you go up the CN Tower? Yeah. It's very, very scary. I'm developing a fear of heights. And one of the last times I went to a Blue Jays game, if you get the cheap tickets at a Blue Jays game, you're all the way at the back of I guess it's called the Rogers Center now. And it's so scary up there. It feels like you can just fall off.
Jacqueline, my grandchildren went there. My grandchildren.
Ah, to the Blue Jays game? Or maybe the CN Tower? That's really cool. Okay. And who here likes poutine? Does everyone know what poutine is?
Yeah, it's a sauce.
Kind of. So it first started in Montreal. So you have fries and then you have cheese curds. Fantastic. With the sauce. So the gravy. That's right. So that's one of our, I guess, Canadian meals because we don't have a lot. Okay. And now on to volunteering. Who here has ever volunteered in Canada? Okay. All right. So a few of you, 4, nice, have volunteered in Canada. I mean, a lot of you are part of the Mississauga seniors meet and greet group. So I feel like it's very much a community and everyone's always helping out in whatever way they can. You know, whether you're driving somebody or you're bringing food or you're helping clean up. These are all different ways, informally or formally, that you volunteer. Okay. Put your hand up if you are interested in volunteering. So either now or maybe after the pandemic. Maybe a little interest? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little hard. I think we're all kind of run down from the pandemic. So it's kind of hard to re-get that energy and to feel that motivation to, you know, go out and volunteer. I think a lot of us, we're just trying to survive every day. But who knows, once the sun gets out, once we're all vaccinated, hopefully, you know, more of us can get out there and volunteer. Okay, so I am going to share my screen and I am going to share my PowerPoint with you. I'm not sure if I'll be able to hear you. Maybe I will, maybe not, but you can always type in the chat if you have any questions. Hello, welcome. Okay, let me see if I can share my screen. Let's give it a try. All right. Hello,
Good evening.
welcome. All right, share.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
Good.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to see if I can go full screen here. My computer might be a little slow, so just please bear with me. Hopefully it doesn't freeze. I'm just trying to get to the bigger screen. There we go. Okay, everybody can see that? Okay, good. All right, so as many of you know, my name is Jacqueline Palance. And then you can see I have a MSW, which is a Master of Social Work. And I also have my RSW, which means I'm a registered social work. So I'm registered with the Ontario of social workers and social service workers. As well. So I told some of you already that I have a new job. So I am working at the Ministry of Community and Social Services. I've been there for 2 months, so I'm learning a lot. I help support ODSP recipients, so people who get Ontario Disability Support Program. I'm really enjoying it. I love it, learning a lot, and I'm excited to where my career will go at the ministry. And then in terms of volunteering, so when I was at the Newcomer Center of Peel, we had a pretty good volunteer program. So a lot of newcomer youth would come to NCP and they would volunteer with us. So they would volunteer at many of our programs. I think sometimes they helped out with different senior programs, but they volunteered a lot with us. So yeah, volunteering is a really big part of our Canadian culture. There's so many benefits to it. So we're going to cover all of that this evening, this Saturday evening. The sun's still out, so I think we're okay. Okay, so this is an agenda of today. So we already did the icebreaker. So thank you for participating. We're going to volunteer some statistics with volunteering in Canada. And then I'll share basic information about volunteering, just so you have a general understanding of what is the norm with volunteering. And then we're going to talk about the benefits of volunteering. So I found 10. I'm going to focus on 10. I think they're very strong benefits. And then after that, we'll go into how to volunteer. I think the how is often the most intimidating part. Maybe many of you want to volunteer, but the process can be very intimidating. So I'll go through that today, and then hopefully, you know, that gives you a little more knowledge and confidence. We'll review some current challenges, not to end on a negative note, but I think it is important to know, especially during a pandemic, there are just different challenges that we have right now, and it's good to be realistic and aware of them. And then lastly, we'll finish with a little quiz. So it's a little game, which I'm excited to hear your answers for that. Okay. All right, so we already did this. These are my little pictures. We have the Earth there, CN Tower. There's an older gentleman, he's gardening, and there's a lovely poutine with a Canadian flag. Okay, so here's our information on volunteering. So in Canada, these are statistics from 2018. So I learned that in 2018, there were 12.7 million Canadians engaged in foreign. So that's a big part of the population. I think the population of Canada is around 40 million. So that means we had over a quarter of Canadians engaged in formal volunteering. So that is a really big number. And so there are many, as we said at the start of the presentation, there are a lot of different ways to volunteer. I think we have to remember there are so many informal ways that be volunteering. But other than that, there's different options. You can provide leadership on boards and committees. There's fundraising, there's giving advice, counseling, mentoring. Some people like to prepare food and deliver food to homeless people. There are drivers, there's people who advocate for social causes. So there's many different ways that we can volunteer. And how many hours? So in 2018, it was 1.7 billion hours was given to charities, nonprofits, community organizations. So that is a lot of hours. So go Canadians. I was really impressed with that number. And then in terms of which organizations benefit the most, hospitals, religious organizations, and sports and recreation. So these are three groups, I guess, organizations that benefit the most. So they get the most volunteers and hours per year. So for example, the average amount of hours dedicated to hospitals per year was 111. With religious organizations, 110, and recreation associations, 105 hours per year. So that's a lot of hours. I think sometimes we forget all the work that volunteers do. And I feel like in a place like a hospital, they're really good at filling in those gaps. You know, the nurses, the doctors, they're so busy. So volunteers are a really great way to offer that, you know, emotional support to people in the hospital, which I believe is probably one of the most valuable parts of a hospital. Obviously, all the medicine is helpful too. But yeah, I think that's very important to recognize. Okay, so who is volunteering? So the stats said that younger Canadians are more likely to volunteer than older Canadians. So of people aged 15 to 28, about 58% of them were volunteering. However, we have to remember that a lot of younger people are volunteering because they need 40 hours of volunteer work to graduate, right? So they have to do it for graduation. A lot of them do it so they can add to their resume. It can help them find a job, meet new friends. So there's various benefits to volunteering for younger people that might be slightly different for the benefits of older people volunteering. And then here we see for pre-retirees, so those are people aged 55 to 64, they had a rate of 41% volunteering. So that's a very high rate. And then for, oh, sorry, did someone say? Sorry?
He is trying to enter the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Has a problem. I just want to mute.
No worries.
You continue.
Okay, and then so seniors, so I guess anyone 65 and older, about 36% volunteered. So it's still a very high percentage. With younger people volunteering, it is important because when younger people volunteer, it says that they have a greater tendency as adults to become more involved in civic activities, more involved in their communities, in volunteering. And I think that's very important because I think with technology and all the changes happening in our world, sometimes we disconnect from our communities. So I feel like that's very important. So if you have any younger people in their lives, it's fantastic if they are volunteering. Okay, so young people are more likely to volunteer. However, who are the top volunteers? So when I say a top volunteer, I'm talking about somebody who contributes 132 hours or more per year. So that's a lot of hours per year. So if we're talking about the top volunteer, according to the federal government, baby boomers, so ages 56 to 75, and matures, age 76 to 100, are more likely to be top volunteers. So basically what that means, yeah, is that older people, so maybe less percentage of the older population volunteer. However, those who do volunteer many hours. So they're averaging 132 hours or more per year. So I thought that was a very interesting statistic. So we can see here in 2018, so 40% of matures and 31% of baby boomers were more likely than the younger generation to be top volunteers. So there we go, yay. I thought that was an interesting statistic. Okay, so general information about volunteering. So volunteering, here it says 3 to 4 hours per week, but it can really be 1 hour, it can be 2 hours, it can be 10 hours. So it really varies depending on the position and the organization. But you can volunteer however many hours you're comfortable with. I think many organizations are very good at accommodating different needs. So for example, if you prefer to sit down, maybe standing is too difficult or uncomfortable, then maybe you can find a job where you can sit. So that could be an option, or maybe you tire quickly, so you'd only want to do 2 hours versus 4 hours. So those are all options and good to be aware of. So something you might need if you want to volunteer, very often you need a criminal record check. So a criminal record check, normally if you're working with vulnerable populations, so maybe you want to volunteer with children, maybe you want to support other seniors, maybe you want to work with youth. Okay, so often they want you to do a criminal background check just to make sure that you haven't had any charges in the recent years and to be extra safe. They might also ask for a resume. So resumes are very important, pretty basic, but they can be pretty intimidating. So maybe there's someone in your life who can, if you don't have one, they can help you create a very basic resume, although I'm sure you all have a ton of experience in your lives. But you know, maybe it's been a while since you have worked. So yeah, sometimes you will require a resume, so just good to be aware. Other times they might ask for a reference. Not always, but sometimes they might want either a professional reference or personal. So you could just choose somebody in your life who would speak good of you, and they would be your reference. Another example, they might ask for something like a TB test. So tuber sclerosis, or I forget, but my mom almost volunteered for a child care center, and she was told she would need a TB test. So they might ask, they might ask this of you, and in this case, you would go to your doctor and say, I need a test because I'm going to be volunteering, let's say at a child care center. Okay. All right. So the benefits of volunteering. So I think one of the best benefits of volunteering is social interaction. So I feel like in Canada, it can be hard to find a community. I think there's a lot of people can be lonely, maybe they're isolated, and especially during the pandemic and COVID. I think we see a lot of this isolation. So I know all of you are very much connected through your seniors group and your weekly meetings. And a lot of you are using technology to see your friends online. But there might still be many seniors out there who are not connected online, and that can be very difficult. But volunteering in general is very important for us to stay social and meet people from different groups, just like a job. So a job, you're often working with people that maybe you wouldn't meet in your regular life. Like through my job, I became involved, you know, in your group, in the Mississauga meet and greet. So if it wasn't for NCP, maybe I would have never have met Dr. Sabral and connected with your group. So, you know, there's a lot of benefits that come to work and volunteer positions. I think it's very important. And then we have improved social skills. So some people will engage in volunteering to help work on their social skills. Maybe they're shy, maybe they want to improve their customer service skills or their public speaking. I've also had people from Volunteer NBC come and speak to some of my groups. Volunteer NBC is a great organization. And when they've come, they often have volunteers do the presentation. So the volunteers are fantastic, great public speaking skills. And you know, that's just another skill that they're using for volunteering, improving. So I think that's fantastic. So it can improve our social skills and any skills really, and that can help build your confidence and then positively support many areas of your life. All right, there's a cute little dog, little puppy. So the benefits of volunteering, meaning. So often volunteering is a way to contribute to causes that you care about. So you might be passionate about something, a particular area. Maybe you're passionate about supporting homeless people. I live in Toronto, so you can see homelessness more clearly. Maybe in Mississauga, the homelessness is more hidden, but there's definitely homelessness. So maybe you would want to volunteer at a soup kitchen and help give meals. I did that when I was in university. So I volunteered at a drop-in center downtown Toronto, and I would help give out lunches to women who were in need. And I enjoyed that. I just liked the opportunity to look them in the eye, just treat them as you would treat any other person, you know, and just wish them a good day. So I just enjoyed that myself. You might be passionate about the environment. So in that case, maybe you would want to support an environmental organization. Maybe they're planting trees or having different initiatives, maybe spreading awareness about recycling or composting. So you could contribute in that way. And then here I have a little pet. So maybe you love animals, and a lot of people who love animals like to foster pets. So pets who don't at the moment have a home, you can take care of them until they find a home. So I think that would be an awesome place to volunteer, or awesome volunteer work that you could do. And then number 4 says, stay active. So I think, again, with the pandemic, we have a lot less activity, and I think we can feel the way this impacts our mind, our body, our emotions. It impacts everything. So we understand the importance of staying active, both mentally and physically. So volunteering, whatever it is, you know, gives us the opportunity to interact with people, get outside, and just be active, because the more we sit, I know it's harder to move. So I think it's good to keep moving if we can, and if it's safe to do so. I'm gonna take a sip of water. All right, so share your wisdom. So many of you have a very, you know, rich history of both work experience, whether you've done volunteer in the past, whether you've gone to school, whether you had different hobbies. You know, you can share your wisdom, your skills, and your experiences. Maybe you'd like to help teach an instrument. Maybe you have experience in hospitals and you'd like to volunteer at a hospital, use those skills. Maybe you'd like to help newcomers practice English, so volunteering at an English conversation group. All these skills and experiences are very valuable. So I think we have to remember that, you know, you have a little more years of experience than many of us younger people. So that's very important and valuable, as I said. And then number 6 is to learn. So maybe you also want to learn a new skill, develop a skill, or explore opportunities. You might want to practice maybe teaching. So if you wanted to teach newcomers English, maybe that's something new for you. That's something I've been telling my mom to do. My mom's a very social person, very pleasant, very nice. I think she should teach English to newcomers. So that would be something she's never done, but she can learn something new from that, like teaching. Another example is I used to volunteer at Toronto Grace Hospital. So there I learned how hospitals work. I was also thinking of becoming a foot doctor, a chiropodist. I don't know how to say it, chiropodist. And I found out that I do not want to be a foot doctor when I volunteered at the hospital. So, there's a lot you can learn in general just from volunteering. Okay. Civic engagement. So many people feel, just as our duty as a citizen, that it's important to contribute with civic engagement. So this could be addressing different public concerns. Maybe you want to help improve your community or promote the quality of life around you. So for example, this could be through voting. So who do you vote for? Maybe you're involved in activism and advocacy. So advocating for a cause, a social cause you really believe in. Maybe you participate in the electoral process. That's actually a good way to get paid. So next time there's either a federal or provincial election, you can actually work for the day and get paid. I did that a couple years ago, and it's nice, and you feel like part of that community. I just think it's important to be, we're very lucky in Canada here to be able to vote. So it was nice to be part of that process. And then volunteering. So that's just a great way to contribute to our communities. And all of this is very important. This year we saw the Black Lives Matter movement, which was just incredible in terms of the impact and so important. So I feel like these movements and, engaging in our communities are very important, and they can really help contribute to real change. So those are other ways to contribute. I went to one of the Black Lives Matter marches in Guelph, and again, it just feels like you're part of this community, and it's, very important. Number 8, so you can benefit or you can volunteer for a cause that you're personally affected by. So in Toronto and in many cities, we'll see different runs. Like, for example, there's the CIBC Run for the Cure. So that's raising money for breast cancer. Every year, me and my family, we do the multiple sclerosis walk. So my mom has multiple sclerosis. And every year we get together to do that walk. And it's just a really powerful thing to participate in. I think my mom loves it. We don't forget the struggle that she's enduring. It brings us all together. So you can volunteer for a cause that you're passionate about. You can raise money. And again, just be part of that community. You can find ways.
Police people, they have Race Against Racism.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
And I remember that the Race Against Racism in Mississauga, right? I think one year you invited me.
Yes.
And we did that, and that was such a great initiative and so important.
Cancer also, Cancer Society also, Parkinson's also, and I volunteered there. These are some of the important races.
Exactly. So there's so many different races you can go there, you can help give out water bottles, something like that. So there's many different ways to contribute to these events. Sometimes I just know it's hard to find out how. So we'll get into that. So other benefits of volunteering, I think I mentioned before, you can add to your resume.
Carasaga, you forgot. Carasaga.
Oh, and Carasaga, yes.
Yes,
that's a
lot
great
of volunteers they need,
Yeah, Karasaga is a fantastic multicultural event. So I feel like there would be a lot of opportunities to volunteer at Karasaga. So with an event like that, when you start hearing about the event, you could go to the website and look for volunteer opportunities and see how you can volunteer. And if you need assistance, you can ask maybe a family member, but that would be a great event to volunteer at, 100%. All right, so other benefits, you can build your social network. So a lot of people might use volunteering to get jobs because it's very hard to get a job out there. So in order, and even if you have younger people in your life, volunteering is very helpful in terms of building your network, getting references, and then also trying out an area of interest. So for example, if someone was interested in being a veterinarian, you know, they could volunteer at an animal hospital. So there's many different ways to help with your employment. And lastly, a lot of people volunteer for religious obligations or spiritual beliefs. So it might be part of your belief system that you believe in helping people, supporting your community. Yeah, because we're all, you know, we're all connected. So it's so important for us to stay connected, support each other. And I think we can, again, especially during the pandemic, can see just how important it is for us to help each other out. Yeah, so those are my 10 benefits of volunteering. I was going through everything and I feel like these are 10 of the best reasons why we should volunteer. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to visit different websites and we'll get practice in terms of seeing where you find the volunteer tab, what to click on, and how that looks if you're looking to go online. So I'm going to show some examples. So, oops. All right, let me switch my screen. I need, oh, here we go. I need more practice with my Zoom. All right, let's see. New share. I'm going to switch screens. We're going to go to, oh, there's my email. All right, so let's go to my Gmail. Okay. So has anybody ever been to the Riverwood Conservancy? I know you're on mute, so it's hard to talk. But the Riverwood Conservancy is in Mississauga. So if you have a passion about volunteering and gardening, you could try and visit this website. So here it says volunteer. So we've already clicked on the volunteer option. I'm trying to think if I can show you that. Visit, get involved. Okay, so like here it says get involved. So many websites will say get involved. And then you would scroll down and you would see the option that says volunteer, and then you click on it. So this is where the page was, but I'll click on it again. And then once you're there, you will scroll down, and here you will read, it'll give you some information about their volunteer opportunities. I noticed they recently updated their website because it didn't look like this before. But here it says volunteering with gardening programs, with conservation. Maybe you want to help with marketing or communications. So these are different ways you can volunteer. And then if you scroll all the way down, there's a button here that says apply to volunteer with the Riverwood Conservancy. So if you were interested in this particular organization, you would click on that button. And every website is a little different. So that's why I'm going to show you a couple so you can see how they might differ. So here it says volunteer application form. So their application form is online. So you would scroll down and you would enter in your information. So you would say Mr., Mrs., Miss, Jacqueline Palance, my address, You would put your email in. And then here it's asking your area of study. So you can say working in school or other. So you could say retired if you are retired. Maybe you can say what occupation you had when you were working or your professional designation. This is getting specific, kind of specific. But unless there's a red star, you don't necessarily have to answer the question. This is emergency contact information. So I know at NCP, we always needed your emergency contact info. Again, this is all just important things that we need. And then here it's references. So it says they want people in your life. So it can be coworkers, supervisors, friends, or neighbors who can speak to you, your experience, yeah, just you as a person. All right, so scroll down. So it'll ask for their phone numbers or email, so they might give them a call. So this is just an example of a volunteer application online. I know this one's a little long, it's a little intimidating, but I have a feeling some positions or places are competitive to get into just for volunteering. And I have a feeling this place is competitive like that. Okay, so I'm gonna exit out of here. That was the Riverwood Conservancy. Oh, I need this to move out of the way. Hold on, let me X that. Go. Okay. Many people have an interest in volunteering at a hospital. So here, this is the website for Trillium Health Partners. So these are our hospitals in Mississauga. So here it says in blue, it says due to COVID-19, we are not accepting applications and we are not conducting onboarding of volunteers at this time. We thank you for your patience and understanding. So on different websites, you'll get updates. Maybe they're not looking for volunteers at that time. And here in the hospitals, because of COVID, we can see that they're definitely not looking for volunteers. There's probably too much risk and they might just be using the volunteers and the staff they have. But let's say it wasn't COVID, you could click on the hospital. So let's say Queensway Health Center. And then here it says volunteering at Queensway Health Center. So there's a phone number and an email. So that would be the email coordinator. So if you had questions or if you just wanted to call, they might be able to help you out. So if you have troubles with online applications, you can just say, I have issues, could you help me? And then they could do that with you. So here it says you have to be 15 years and older. You have to do an online application and then you have to attend an interview. So again, hospitals are places that are harder to volunteer at. They're actually competitive for volunteering. So let me exit out of that. All right, here. So Indus is an organization similar to NCP. It's down the street from us. So they have similar services for newcomers to Canada. So this is a place that maybe you would want to volunteer. So you would go to their volunteer page. And then if you scroll down, it gives you information about the application process. So how to volunteer. So you could read through that. And then if you scroll down here, it says the different positions to volunteer. So you could read through them and look at those and think, okay, well, which opportunity is good for me? Which one do I like? So for example, this one is the telephone reassurance volunteer. So by the sounds of it, this is a position that you can do from your house, just from the phone. So let's click on it. I actually sent this one to my mom. All right. So here, there's one page, a description of the volunteer position. Okay, so it says you're going to alleviate isolation and loneliness by providing a friendly telephone call by the volunteer. So you would call people who might be isolated and lonely, and you would just have a conversation with them. So maybe it's 15 minutes, but just a friendly little call to help people in the community. So especially during COVID, I think this is a really great initiative. And then if you look here, responsibilities and duties, here I'll zoom in. So it says what your responsibilities are. So it says it wants you to do minimum of 30 minutes per week. So hopefully you would be able to commit to that. Let's see, I'm going to scroll down. Okay, qualifications and skills. So if you're a patient, caring, and compassionate person, that would be great. As well, if you even look further, it says if you speak English and one or more South Asian languages. So I know many of you speak English and a South Asian language. So that would be an asset for this particular position. And then there you go. So I think this is a really cool position. That's one example of a volunteer opportunity. And this one is with the Indus organization. I'll go back and I'll show you the website. Oh, and then here at the bottom, again, there's an email there, Tradia. So that would be for the volunteer coordinator. So if you had any questions, if you wanted a phone call, that would be someone you can email and you can ask about volunteering. And then here, sorry, just one more thing here. So if you click on the volunteer application, this would bring you, oh, okay. So it is a Word document. Let me see if it opens, if I'm sharing this screen. So again, every website will be a little different. Can you see the Microsoft Word? Dr. Sabral, can you see the,
Oh,
does
we
it,
are not see.
oh, you don't?
Yes, we see your presentation.
Okay, okay, I'm just gonna minimize that. That was just an example of the volunteer application.
Wonderful.
Wait, you can see,
we can.
yes. So that's another great website. I'm gonna exit that. And the last place I was gonna talk about was actually Volunteer MBC. You can see the website, right? What I'm showing?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So Volunteer MBC, which the previous time you guys had somebody come and speak from Volunteer MBC. Volunteer MBC is one of the best volunteer organizations in Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon. So they cater to everybody. So to youth, to people who are retired, elders. So they want everyone to have the opportunity to volunteer, and they will help you do that. So this is the website. And this website can be a little bit intimidating as well, but I was going to mention that they have the phone opportunity. Did they go, sorry, go ahead.
One thing I would like to let you know that age is no bar. Last time they told that a lady of 92 years, she was working in the kitchen helping. So they said age because our volunteers or seniors, they just wanted to know that we are so aged. Can we get some volunteer job? She said we had a volunteer. She was 92 years of age and she was very active. She was working in the kitchen, preparing food for the some people who were in need of food. So she was preparing, so that way we can tell the audience that age is no bar. At any age, just to remain healthy and hearty and just to get ready for the volunteer work, you know, you can remain active, and age is not.
Yes, exactly. Age doesn't matter. Everyone is welcome to volunteer. And again, I think, you know, they can accommodate different needs. I think it's such a great idea to volunteer. Keeps you active physically, mentally, still meeting new people, and you have so much to contribute. You have so much knowledge. I know with my cooking program, I learned so much. I had helpful tips that I never knew before. So I was like, this is amazing. Like we can learn so much from each other. So I really feel like, to share your wisdom and your skills is so important. And us as a community as a whole, we need this, very important. Okay, so now this is the Volunteer NBC website. There's a whole application process here. They probably went through it with you, but there is an online application and then also a phone number. So I'm gonna share my PowerPoint again. From current slide, okay. All right, so we looked at the Riverwood Conservancy, Mississauga Hospitals. Mississauga Food Bank is also another really good organization to volunteer for. Here we talked about Indus Community Services. We talked about that in volunteer opportunity, another really good place to volunteer. And then Volunteer NBC. So yeah, again, really good organization. And again, if the online is very intimidating for you, I do recommend calling this number, and then you can book a free volunteer consultation. So they can talk to you, get your information, and find out ways that you would like to volunteer. So I imagine they gave you this, but that's a good number to have. If you want to volunteer during or after COVID, because remember there are positions that you can do from your home. So I recommend it. All right, potential challenges. So like I've been saying, COVID-19 is an obvious challenge. There's less of specific positions because of it, like the hospital, they closed. However, there could be new opportunities. So COVID-19 is difficult because we have to stay home, we're still in lockdown, and we have to stay safe. So personal protective equipment is only so helpful. The best is to stay home, but still stay active. Make sure you're going outside. But yes, with volunteering, that can be very difficult. Technology. So a lot of volunteering and how to volunteer these days happens online. So like we said, the Race Against Racism or Carasaga, I'm sure there's many opportunities to volunteer, but often there's an online process, online application. So that can be difficult. So remember, if you ever need assistance, you can get family members to help you or do it yourself. I know you're all very tech savvy. And then as well with Volunteer NBC, they're a great organization to connect you to volunteering at Carasaga or the Race Against Racism. So they're that connect with volunteer opportunities. So very important. And then, like I said, so there might be less opportunities because COVID, but there's also new opportunities because of COVID. So we see new positions opening up that we didn't have before because of COVID. So like that telephone reassurance program. So this is a telephone volunteer opportunity to connect with people who are home alone and maybe sad or lonely. Okay, so that was a lot of information. I'm sorry about just, talking, but there is a lot to learn and a lot to take in. So to end, for the last 5 minutes, I have a little game, and I'm gonna test your knowledge of volunteering in general. Okay, so the first one, and are you able to unmute yourself while I'm presenting? I can also open, let me see if I can get the chat here. Where are you, chat? There it is. So you could either type your answers or unmute yourself. So the first question says, in 2010, which province in Canada had the highest volunteer rate? So which province in Canada do you think had the highest volunteer rate? So you can either type in the chat or unmute yourself.
I think it should be Quebec.
Quebec? Okay, any other ideas?
Ontario.
Yeah, I feel like Ontario would have been my guess too. Yeah, Ontario, Quebec, There's high populations.
Yeah.
And any other guesses? One more guess? BC? Yeah, I feel like those three would be my guesses. But the province with the highest volunteer rate in 2010 was actually Saskatchewan.
Oh.
Yeah. Nobody expected that.
Yes.
That's one.
Yeah. Sorry, my nose is itchy. I think I have allergies. Okay, so speaking about Saskatchewan, are rates of volunteering higher in rural or urban communities?
Higher in rural or urban communities.
So do people volunteer, the rates of volunteering, is it higher in rural? Not that all of Saskatchewan is rural, or urban communities. Where do you think?
Rural.
I think urban is more.
Yeah, so I also thought urban was more, but apparently it's rural. So
Yeah.
people in rural communities
I
are
am
more,
right.
yeah. So they are more likely to volunteer. So I thought that was, you know, maybe they have more of that community. So who knows? Who knows what the reasons are for that? But I think that's cool. A very cool stat. All right, let's go to the next one. All right.
Urban people are very busy, so they can't concentrate upon
busy.
volunteerism.
Yeah. All right. Two of the most common activities volunteers do is 1, deliver and collect food, 2, planting trees and marketing, 3, raising money and organizing events. So which of the 3 do you think volunteers do the most?
Raising money.
Raising money and organizing.
Raising money.
Yes, that is good job. Yeah, so that is correct. So volunteers, the 2 most common activities are raising money and organizing events, which I know the Mississauga Meet and Greet group always organizing events. Dr. Sabharwal is go, go, go.
I always do. Yes, I love to.
I love it. That's good. Okay. So what is the biggest barrier to volunteering? What is the biggest barrier? Is it 1, fear and anxiety, 2, lack of time, or 3, lack of interest?
Fear and anxiety.
I think lack of
Fear and anxiety.
Lack of interest.
Lack of interest.
Lack of interest. Yeah, so I thought those as well, but apparently it is lack of time. And I think Dr. Sabharwal just said that, you know, living in these cities, we're all very busy. So apparently lack of time is the biggest barrier.
But we have lot of time.
Yes. So you have no excuse. You have to go volunteer.
And that is why we have started this course of volunteerism, just to teach them. They must.
Yes, that's true.
I was going. I went for the children home, but I went only 4 or 5 times. They called me. My distance test, everything was done. But after that, I got my grandkids. So my volunteering finished.
At home.
Because
there you go.
in that children home, I was teaching little bit craft to the small kids whose mothers were coming for the meeting.
Oh, that's so
and
nice.
Then I was volunteering in the temple, teaching Hindi to kids for 2.5 years.
Oh,
but
that's amazing.
But
that's
because of COVID, I stopped even that.
Okay, but after COVID, you restart. That is great.
Yes,
I love that. That's fantastic.
Jacqueline, one thing I just want to tell everyone.
Yeah.
That, when you told that the police verification is required, the police character certificate you need. So that way, when you are doing some volunteer work, they don't charge anything. Otherwise, they charge $72.
They don't charge. They don't charge.
They don't charge. Otherwise, they charge $72. And secondly, if you are leaving one voluntary opportunity and you are joining another one, if the gap is more than 6 months, 182 days, only then they require character verification. Otherwise, your last character verification will continue, you know.
Yeah.
That way they don't need if the gap is not more than 182 days. So the character verification is not needed. And when you enter volunteerism, tuberculosis test is also.
You know, I lived mostly in Kenya,
The
very poor.
doctors, they don't charge anything for that.
Yes.
TB test also.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel they charge for the police record check. Maybe it's just in Toronto. I know in Toronto things are more expensive. But yeah, that's great if sometimes they don't charge or sometimes the organization pays for it. So that's great. Yeah. Great points. Okay, so back to the quiz. When is National Volunteer Week? Does anybody know when National Volunteer Week is? So it is soon. It's in April. So April 18th to the 25th is National Volunteer Week. So say thank you. We can say thank you to Dr. Sabral and him being a leader in the community. All this organizing. So that's National Volunteer Week. Okay. All right. Oh, I think I said this in the presentation. So how many Canadians volunteered in 2018? Does anybody remember? How many Canadians volunteered?
12.7 billion.
Yeah, or million. Yes.
Million, sorry. Million.
Oh,
It's million.
Yeah, there's like 1 billion hours, but yeah, the 12.7 million. Awesome.
Million, yeah.
That's correct.
It's million.
Good job. And which 3 areas benefited the most from volunteers? So which 3 areas? Yeah.
Hospitals.
Hospitals.
Religious organizations.
Yeah.
Sports and recreations.
That's correct. Awesome. Yeah. So they benefited the most from formal volunteering, which is amazing. Those are great places for us to contribute to. That's fantastic.
Hospital.
Okay. And just for fun, this is something I just recently learned. So the almonds are native to which country?
Where
Where did the almonds start?
California.
California.
US.
California.
Where?
California.
So actually in Iran.
Oh.
Iran.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So it started in Iran. And because spring is coming, which country did Canada receive tulips?
Ottawa.
We received tulips from a particular country that we helped during the war.
Amsterdam. Holland.
Yes.
Holland.
There you go. Yes. Awesome. Yay. Okay. Good job, everybody. And this is a nice quote. It says, "The smallest act of kindness is worth more than the grandest intention." So again, there's so many different ways for us to volunteer, big or small, even informal, just in our daily life outside. There's many different ways for us to give. So that's very important to be aware of. But amazing. It's been so much fun with all of you here tonight on a Saturday. No, it's been fantastic. So just remember, the online applications are very important. And then if you need extra assistance, I highly recommend Volunteer NBC. They'll do the phone calls with you. And any organization you're interested in volunteering at, you can always call. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you.
It was good fun.
You're welcome. Here, let me stop sharing my screen.
Good presentation. Very good.
Very good.
Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation and very knowledgeable. So I can say that you had been kind enough to give a presentation to our seniors, and definitely they will listen to you. And volunteerism is a very good thing for them, just to keep themselves physically and mentally active. And age is no bar. And particularly when you are determined to do volunteer work, so then I think it is always good. It gives you mental satisfaction. And because of COVID, I think we have certain restrictions and it is not possible, but otherwise. Once again, thank you very much for giving us a very knowledgeable presentation. So in future also, it is my humble and that you will continue with us in future also. Whenever it need be, we shall be asking you to come. Thank you very much. So nice of you. Good night.